My favorite player on every Overwatch League team. It's been a tradition on this channel since 2019, believe it or not. I enjoy this once a year series quite a bit, so there's no way we could stop now. It's been over a year since the last one, so now that we have substantial gameplay and lots of examples of like character and personality to help me out, now feels like the right time to bring it back in the Season 4 edition of this. The criteria is quite simple. If you're currently in the league, as of this recording, you're eligible. I'm not counting anybody who got released or retired mid-season. I probably could if I wanted to, but it doesn't feel right or fair for that matter to pick somebody who's not in the league anymore. If that upsets you, then I'm sorry, but that's how we're gonna do things. So yeah, let's dive right into this thing. We go in alphabetical order by city name around here, so the Atlanta Reign are up first. If you've been watching since Season 3, you probably know where I'm going. My favorite player on the Atlanta Reign is none other than Kai. Iris probably gets like a close second since he's been playing really well this year and I've enjoyed watching him play, but Kai is my dude. He's a former Valiant boy. I gotta support him. He was my favorite player on my former favorite team. When the Reign play well, it makes me happy to see him succeed elsewhere. I owe so much to him for making the experience of Season 3 more enjoyable as a Valiant fan. It's no secret that I was not feeling super confident in them at the start of 2020, but him and a few others quickly made me change my outlook. Kai is a true carry on that hit scan role. No matter the hero, he is going to be a threat, and it's always a pleasure to watch him in action. Here's to future years of entertainment. Your second team is the Boston Uprising. This young team has quite a few standouts who I appreciate greatly, but my absolute favorite has to be Myungbong. His on play in the last year and a half has been inspirational to say the least. Win or loss, you can expect him to make massive plays. Despite his team not being so good in 2020, the man continued to carry over and over again, and he's carried that momentum into this year. Something else I'd like to add is how positive he is. Even when Boston were at their lowest of lows in 2020, he always tried his best to post words of encouragement on social media, and he never gave up on his team. Like others before him, he definitely could have tried to force his way out of Boston, but he stayed loyal and he never gave up. Now he's part of a respectable roster who should continue to progress as time goes on. Much respect for Myungbong as both a player and a person. Alrighty, it's Chengdu Chad's time. They're a very likable bunch with both respectable rookies and veterans alike. While Among will always hold a very special place in my heart, Leave is my favorite player on this team. From the moment I laid eyes on him in the 2019 World Cup, it was pretty apparent that this guy was a ridiculous player with an absurdly high ceiling. And this year, he has definitely been realizing his potential. Leave is a monster. He is the centerpiece behind the Chengdu Hunters. He is their superstar playmaker. He's unbelievably explosive, and I appreciate his versatility as well. Most would argue he's a better hit scan, but he can pretty much do anything you ask of him. You need him on Tracer, or maybe like Ashe or Widowmaker, he's got your back. You want him on Echo or Genji? Well, great. He's one of the best in the league. Leave represents what the Chinese region is truly capable of. He's a big reason why I thoroughly enjoy the Chengdu games. Now on to the Dallas Fuel. The boys in blue are a hard one because I love and respect pretty much their entire starting lineup. Hanbin and Fielder, they're right up there, probably my number 2 and number 3 respectively, but I gotta go with Fearless as my absolute favorite. What he has done in his career is extraordinary. To go from being a part of that 0-40 Shanghai Nightmare to a multi-time tournament champ on 2 different successful franchises hits different. I truly appreciate Fearless sticking through it and being a part of this humble game for as long as he has. He worked very hard, and he grinded in contenders after leaving the league initially, and now he's established himself as arguably the best main tank player on the planet, if not the best Winston player at the very least. Fearless has had quite the career. He's been a hero on 2 different franchises. Fearless is the man, end of discussion. Team number 5 is none other than the Florida Mayhem. I know I threw some criticisms his way in a recent video, but my favorite player on this team is Gangnam Jin. He's a classic example of what you're looking for in a consistent and reliable support player. He's not as flashy as your Violets and Alarms of the world, but he is still incredibly impactful. Yeah, sometimes I wish he'd be a little more aggressive, but his conservative style is something I can appreciate. He demonstrates incredible intelligence and IQ. He does what he can to stay alive and ensure the safety of his teammates. It's a good mentality to have, which we've seen work time and time again in the past. Florida are not in the best of places right now, but Gangnam Jin is usually still a pleasure to watch no matter what. Transitioning to the Guangzhou Charge, they admittedly have not been a team I've enjoyed watching all that much this year. I often find it frustrating, as I know they probably could be a bit better if they figure a few things out. But nonetheless, they still do have a few guys that I simply adore. At the top of that list is none other than Kareev. Yeah, We're going back to my glory days again. Be prepared. I have been supporting Kariv since 2017 when he played for my OG favorite team, the Immortals. Since then, I have watched him go through a lot, both good and bad. I've watched him grow as a player and as a person, and I will always be thankful for all of the effort and entertainment he has provided me throughout the years. Kariv will always hold a very special place in my heart for that absurd Stage 3 he had back in 2019, as well as the dynamic he had between Agilities, Custa, and Fate respectively. While he's not where he once was in the rankings, I can always appreciate the Kariv Ana, even if it's usually in a losing effort these days. Now let's take a look at the Hangzhou Spark, shall we? And this one might come as a shock to some of you because I've been praising and hyping up Shy so much since the June Joust really, but he's actually not my favorite player on this team. That honor belongs to Architect. My nostalgia bias is real. I love this dude. He's such an explosive player who outputted a ton of unreal performances on the Shock back in the day. His days on the Shock remind me a lot of what we see out of Leave currently. He can beat you on so many different characters. His Genji, Pharah, Hanzo, and Widow in particular are what made me fall in love with his play back in Season 1 and the end of Season 2. And I know he's not regarded in as high of a manner anymore due to the competition just getting a lot greater, but Architect is still a solid player who can do so much for the Spark team. Okay, it's Houston Outlaws time. Last year this was a bit harder of a decision to make due to a certain someone temporarily retiring, but now he's back so the choice is pretty easy. My favorite player on the 2021 Houston Outlaws is none other than Jake. He's someone I have appreciated since 2017, back when I watched him play for Team USA and LG Evil. While he's not the same kind of elite player anymore, I still do appreciate all the years he has spent at the pro level. He's a true student of the game as well. He loves studying it so much, and now he's living the dream of being a coach and a player at the same time. Not to mention that Jake is such a positive dude. He's someone I'd love to meet one day. Oh, and let's not forget about the other thing that makes Jake so amazing. That's right, I'm talking about the memes. The whole Jake Rat and J-Loke thing will forever be a part of pro Overwatch meme culture. It's a classic. Anyway, moving on from Jake and the Outlaws, we have the London Spitfire. With how this video has gone so far, it should be pretty clear where I'm going here. My favorite player is quite easily Shaxx. Gotta support my former Valiant boys, you know? No matter where they go, I still want nothing but the best for the Season 3 squad that I watched. I gained appreciation for Shaxx pretty early on when he joined this team. Right from Stage 3 2019, he gained my respect and admiration. His Sombra play back then was a lifesaver, and that clutch play only got stronger in Season 3 really when he got to show off his signature Tracer. Right now, things don't look great for the London Spitfire, and Shaxx himself has not been nearly as impactful or entertaining compared to previous years. But even so, I still love that dude. He brought me so much happiness as a Valiant fan that I will always be grateful for. Getting us to the halfway mark is the LA Gladiators. I personally am a massive fan of their support line. It's hard to pick who I like the best, but I think I like Shu the most by a slight margin over Moth as my favorite player on this team. Shu is that classic explosive flex support who sometimes does not get the love he deserves. He is quite easily in that elite tier of support players. He showcased insane potential all the way back in 2019, and he has built upon his game every year since. I enjoy watching him on every character he touches. I don't say that often with support players as they usually have that comfort pick or two but then aren't as great with somebody else. But not with Shu. As I said, he's been working hard in developing his game. His BAP, Zen, and Ana are all nuts and he just makes big play after big play. Shu is an absolute beast. He's been a difference maker on multiple teams and now hopefully him and the Gladiators will find more success moving forward. Up next we have, well, the other LA team. No disrespect to the Valiant, but it's not exactly easy to find a favorite player on a team who pretty much shows no resistance whatsoever on a week-to-week basis. Luckily for me though, there is one guy in particular who has at least kind of stood out. My favorite player on the Valiant is Molanran. Despite being a part of the worst team in the league, he's played pretty alright. He's made some nice plays this year, especially on the Tracer. If only the situation wasn't so brutal, maybe then some of these performances wouldn't go to waste. As we transition to the NYXL, my choice is fairly easy. I'm going with Yakpung. People like Flora, Guangbung, and Jonek, they always get me hyped up too, but there's something about Yakpung that I really appreciate. Kind of like with Fearless, he never gave up on his dream even after his initial stint in the Overwatch League was not what he wanted it to be. After parting ways with Toronto back in 2019, Yakpung worked incredibly hard in Korean contenders as a member of O2 Blast. And it was there that he truly earned the respect of others during this time. Through a ton of success and improvement, he fought his way back into a well-deserved roster spot at the Overwatch League level. Yakpeng may not be the flashiest player in the world, but he's very consistent. You can really see the improvement in his game compared to Season 2. Mad respect goes out to Yakpeng. I am rooting for him every step of the way. That's all I gotta say about New York though, so let's talk about the Paris Eternal. A team that has completely exceeded my expectations has shown me quite a few players that I now thoroughly enjoy watching, but even before this season began, there was one guy I was pretty interested in keeping an eye on, and that man is Khan. Since then, he has very quickly become one of my favorite players to watch on the Paris Eternal. People told me he was a nutty Baptiste coming into 2021, and that held to be true, but then he quickly showed me he's more than capable of outputting great performances on all the other flex support heroes as well. Khan is a pillar of stability on this Paris team. He consistently makes good choices that helps put his team in a better position to win, whether it be through his healing or his own playmaking abilities, and he's only become more entertaining and better for that matter since Paris have started winning more. Khan is a god, that is all there really is to say. And how about the Philly Fusion, a team with quite a few players I'm quite fond of. They have so many players who take me back to the good old days back in Season 1, plus Alarm, who I also have massive respect for. For me personally, Philly have a very, very likable roster, so choosing just one player isn't exactly easy. But you know, I gotta continue rolling with Carpe when it's all said and done. He is one of my all-time favorite pro players who has provided me with nearly 4 years of entertainment now. He might not be like a top 5 DPS in the league these days, but God, do I love this man. I want him to win something so badly. Carpe sets crazy standards on himself, and his work ethic is second to none. And there's simply too many individual memories to count where this guy has had me in awe. Some of my personal favorites are the It's Winnable play against Boston in Season 1, and the Widow 3K against the Justice in Season 3. Carpe is my guy. Maybe you'll disagree with me, but in my opinion, he is one of the most important players in this league's history. Next is none other than the two-time defending champs. You know, it's kind of crazy to think that it's still pretty easy for me to choose despite some of my all-time favorite players on this roster being long gone. My favorite player on the Shock is definitely still Super though. Take pretty much everything I've said in previous years and apply it here. Most people either love or hate Mr. Delisi. I for one think he's great. He's one of those people I more so like for his personality more than anything else. Super's stream is a lot of fun. He's got a good personality. He talks banter with his chat and acts like he's better than everybody else, but also, I think he's a good guy. That's part of why I find him so entertaining. He's a good mix. From a gameplay standpoint, I also still thoroughly enjoy watching him play Reinhardt. He's still a world-class Rein, no doubt about it, in my opinion at least. Super is one of those players I'm grateful for. He gives this league more personality. As for the Seoul Dynasty as we move onward, this is another franchise with some very historic players. Some of you might call me crazy for choosing him over the flashier guys on the team, but my favorite player to watch on Seoul is Animo. In Season 3, I kinda knocked him for being too passive, but that's mostly because his style of play is not what New York needed at the time. Generally speaking, I love how he plays. Animo, in my opinion, is one of the most intelligent support players the league has ever seen. Animo is generally passive, but it works well on the Seoul Dynasty. I love me a support who can stay out of trouble, and unlike previous years, Animo has shown decent aggression on a hero like Lucio. He reminds me kind of a funny Astro from last year in the sense that he's getting a lot of value out of a hero and productivity while keeping the death rate to a minimum. Because he's not flashy, Animo often goes underappreciated, and that's truly a shame because he's way more valuable than people realize. He is incredibly reliable. As we transition to the Shanghai Dragons, my pre-OWL and Season 1 boomer nostalgia once again plays a role in my choice. My favorite player on the Shanghai Dragons is none other than Fate. It's the same story as Karif basically. I have had the pleasure of supporting and watching Fate since 2017 on the Immortals. I saw him quickly become a top main tank in Season 1 while helping the Valiant be the second best team in the league record-wise. Fate has pretty much always been a consistent player his whole career. I respect and appreciate all the work he has put in as a member of the Valiant, and I've continued rooting for him during his Florida and Shanghai days. When I watched him win the June Joust, I was so happy for the guy. He was the hero too, nonetheless. It was great. Fate is an OG. He has consistently done so well on a variety of heroes throughout his whole career. His Valiant days may be long behind him, but Fate is definitely still one of my favorite players in the league without a doubt. Team number 18 is the Toronto Defiant. There's really no point in sugarcoating this. They have a Season 3 Valiant boy. Lastro is my favorite player 1000%. Just like Kai, I want nothing but the best for him. He deserves it after all the nonsense that happened during the offseason. Lastra was such a nutty flex support on that Season 3 Valiant roster. He put all of my concerns of losing Karif to rest almost immediately. He put in the work, and now he's doing the same on a new team thanks to his signature Ana and Zenyatta. Lastro is a well-rounded playmaking support who you can always rely on, and I'm so happy to see him in another starting gig because it is well-deserved. If he didn't find a new team, it would have been really sad. Lastro is a king, and he deserves success no matter where he goes. Okay, so what about the other Canadian team? Well, the Titans are a tough one. I haven't grown particularly attached to anybody this year, but at least they still do have somebody I can appreciate in NYXL. He is nowhere near a Season 1 glory at this point in his career, but that's okay. I still have a lot of memories of him that I can always look back on. All the crazy Widowmaker pop-offs throughout the years are firmly engraved into my brain. NYXL is not always the most consistent player, but every once in a while he flips that switch and becomes this unstoppable force. He keeps you on your toes for sure. On any given day, he can wake up and completely body some of the best hitscan players in the game. Along with that, NYXL is a great guy. He's been playing this game for a long time, but has shown nothing but kindness every step of the way. He's really cool. I kind of find him relatable on an emotional level as well. NYXL often puts himself down when he's not satisfied with his performances, and self-doubt is something that a lot of humans deal with, some more than others of course. As somebody who struggles with anxiety, it happens to me all the time, so I totally get where NYXL is coming from, which is why it makes me very happy whenever he makes a nice play, or I see a smile on his face for that matter. NYXL works incredibly hard, and he's a really nice guy like I said before, so you can't help but root for a guy like that. And last but not least is the Washington Justice. It's funny that it took this long for him to make an appearance in one of these, but my favorite player on the Justice is Fury. He's a guy I've always respected. It just so happens that he's played on a lot of teams with players that I like even more than him, but today is finally his time to shine. In my opinion, he is the true leader of the Washington Justice, and I'm not just saying that because he's the team captain. Yes, Decay's the team's biggest playmaker and superstar, but given the nature of playing DPS, sometimes it's not so easy to be the true carry of a team. But Fury is the model of consistency at that off-tank position. I would say he's the most consistent diva in League history, let alone Season 4. He might not be the most explosive, but he's definitely the best at getting the most out of defense matrix. Going all the way back to Season 1, he has done nothing but deny game-changing ultimates on a regular basis. Even here in the modern day where the competition is more fierce than ever before, he is still the best at it. His inhuman levels of understanding on D.Va is a sight to behold. But it's not just D.Va, that's the thing. He's proven to be lethal on every single off-tank in the game. Fury is simply built different. He makes watching off-tank gameplay all the more enjoyable. He's the perfect balance of flashy and intelligent. There are very few off-tanks in the world I would take over Fury. He truly has been that good for 4 years now. And yeah, that's basically everything I have to say about Fury and the Justice, so there you go. That is my updated list of favorite players on each team here in Season 4. If you enjoyed it, be sure to give this video a like and drop a sub. While you're at it, feel free to tell me who your favorite player is on each team down in the comments section. And if you want to see more of these types of videos, be sure to let me know any ideas you might have because I really do enjoy making these favorite whatever types of videos. Anyway, that's going to do it. As always, thank you all for watching. I appreciate your support. And until next time, this is ATP, signing out. Peace.